Я вас слышу прекрасно. Значит, мы начинаем говорить о том...
They don't just speak a different language here. Americans trying to do business in the Soviet Union are learning there is more than a communications gap between Soviets and the West. This building in a small Siberian city is nicknamed the Yellow Submarine. It's administrative headquarters for White Knights, a Soviet-American oil joint venture. While White Knights Western technicians try to bring oil out of the Siberian fields, 6 days a week, 12 hours a day back at headquarters, the Americans and their Soviet counterparts try to make the operation work. There are some differences in style, such as this typically autocratic Soviet manager who believes in browbeating his American partners as a management technique. But the major hurdle is one of substance, the perplexing and impenetrable Soviet bureaucracy.
And it's like being on a different planet in many respects.
White Knights Director General Robert Talboy has managed oil operations all over the world.
The kind of power that people have here is to prevent things from happening. So it's a kind of a negative power. They can exercise negative power by saying no, and they don't have to accept any responsibility for the results because there won't be any results if whatever activity doesn't take place because they've said no. The immediate reaction is a drastic feeling of frustration that your efforts are totally thwarted on every front.
A case in point, transportation, a key element in any oil field operation. As part of their agreement with the Soviets, the Americans were supposed to receive a number of vehicles for their use in the fields. The trucks were supposed to come from other Soviet organizations, and in many cases, those organizations have refused to give them up.
They don't want to release them to us for various reasons. And then many times when we do get them, they end up in the shops and there's no spare parts to repair them. Soviet organizations have a tendency to place emphasis on one individual that delegates very little, whereas we, as Americans, will delegate authority to the lower echelons of supervision. There is a form for everything, and there is a particular person that's authorized to sign particular documents. And the simplest transaction requires paperwork.
Doing business in the Soviet Union is chancy. There's uncertainty over the future of the nation's government. But the oil business is doubly risky. First, the oil must be found. Second, it must be taken out of the country. And third, it must be sold on the volatile world market. The biggest barrier to this operation, however, may be the Soviet past. Not the people themselves, who are well educated and can be hardworking. The obstacle is a national mindset, a product of a country which has turned inward for so many decades, its people cannot conceive of how the rest of the world thinks. Byron Harris, Channel 8 News, Raduzhny, Siberia.